from Precision Movement, and in this video we're going to talk about hunchback posture. So hunchback posture is when you basically look like that, okay? What we're specifically referring to is excessive thoracic kyphosis. So the thoracic spine is in kyphosis naturally, and hunchback posture is just an excessive amount of rounding or kyphosis of the thoracic spine. Okay, so today I'm gonna bust out spiny here because it'll allow you to visualize exactly what I'm talking about. So those of you without a degree in kinesiology or an understanding of the anatomy and where muscles originate and insert will be able to really get what is happening here, what I'm describing, and why the exercise that I'm going to show you is so critical and is so powerful. Okay, so this is the spine, and this is the thoracic region right from about here to here. And this is an example of hunchback or excessive kyphosis, okay? This is neutral, that's looking decent, and then excessive kyphosis looks to be about there. Now, the superficial muscles include scapular muscles like the rhomboids and the middle traps, and the scapula are on your back, right about here, and these muscles attach from the scapula, the medial border of the scapula, to the spine. And when they contract, they pinch the shoulder blades back together so the scapula retract, but also it helps to extend the thoracic spine. The problem with this is the scapular muscles are phasic muscles. Now, the phasic and tonic muscle concept was first brought about by Czechoslovakian physiotherapist named Vladimir Janda, very popular guy, and he's most well known for upper and lower cross syndrome. Now, the phasic muscles, as described by Janda, are muscles that are designed for movement, powerful movement. They tend to be fast twitch muscle fibers so that they're not really well suited for posture, because posture, we need to be able to maintain alignment and posture all day. Whether we're doing exercises, whether we're standing, whether we're walking, we need those muscles on at a low level all day, and the phasic muscles aren't suited for that. So when we're told to stand up straight, or when we think about standing up straight, kind of hike up like that, squeeze the shoulder blades back together, and we can maintain that for a minute, 2 minutes, but once our awareness is gone, we go back to whatever our default resting posture is. So that's one reason why just standing up straight without activating this other muscle is not going to work. If we're recruiting the rhomboids and the middle traps, not going to happen. Okay, next up, let me show you a little example. So this cable represents the erector spinae group. Now the erector spinae group run all the way down the spine from the pelvis and all the fascia around the lumbar area, and then they insert into various different regions of the spine. The thing with the erector spinae group is they cross many vertebrae. So all the way from the pelvis up into the T-spine, that's at least 8 vertebrae that these muscles cross. And they're long and thin muscles. Now these muscles are tonic muscles. However, let me show you what happens. Let's say we've got hunchback right here, and the muscle is originating in the sacrum. It can be the iliocostalis or the longissimus, actually would originate in the sacrum, and then it inserts somewhere around the thoracic spine. Now, if you've got a hunchback and this muscle contracts, it's going to pull everything into extension, but what joints it pulls into extension depends on what joints are most mobile. So where the joints are most mobile, let's say the joint's most mobile right here at the TL junction, thoracic and the lumbar junction. What's going to happen is all the movement is going to occur there, but the joints that might be a little bit more stuck in the thoracic spine, you might not get any movement there. So what it looks like is we got a hinge point. So we'll hinge at the TL junction like that, and you get the appearance of standing up straight, but the excessive rounding of the thoracic spine is still there, and we've just changed the orientation of the spine so that it looks like we're standing up straight. We're really not extending the spine and attaining a nice neutral posture. Okay, so that's what happens when you work these long muscles. the movement is going to occur at one of these joints, whatever joint, intervertebral joint, is most mobile. And that's going to be where the hinge happens. But the other joints that might be a little more stuck, which is very common in the thoracic spine, those other joints, you won't get any movement, and you're not going to fix this long term. You might be able to stand there, but then you'll get a lot of tension in the low back, in the lumbar muscles, the erector spinae, and then when they fatigue, you'll go back to normal. Okay, so what's the solution? The solution is working the deep spinal muscles, the extensors of the spine, the ones deep to the rhomboids, deep to the trapezius, deep to the erector spinae. Okay, what are these muscles? Well, one group, just below, just deep to the erector spinae group, is the semispinalis. And these muscles traverse anywhere from 4 to 6 vertebrae. So let's count here. Let's start here at the bottom of the cervical spine. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I've got this little elastic band, and they basically go like that. So you can see how this right there, make sure you see that there. You can see how this is going to do a better job than the erector spinae group. But we can do even better than that. And what's even more important is to train the multifidus. And the multifidus goes all the way up the spine, and they connect anywhere from 2 to 4 joints. So let's assume this one right here is 2 joints, 2 vertebrae. So it'll look like that. Okay? You can see right there the red elastic band. So when this muscle contracts, where's the movement going to come? It's going to come from just this area, just this joint. Okay? And the same thing happens. Let's say the next one spans 3 vertebrae. And it's different for every body, but 2 to 4 vertebrae is the norm. So that's 3 vertebrae. If this multifidus segment contracts, it's just going to cause extension at these vertebrae. So it's very localized and very specific, these muscles. And that's why when we get these muscles working, and they go all the way down the spine, when we get these muscles working, we create extension at every joint, and that's how we're going to fix hunchback posture. It's not just a temporary 2-minute cure for when somebody's walking by that you want to make it look like your pecs look big. No, this is long term. This is going to allow you to walk around all day, to exercise with good neutral alignment. Okay, so that's the anatomy of the multifidi and all the extensor muscles of the spine and why we need to work and focus on the multifidi. But how can we get in there and make sure that we're localizing these muscles and we're not using the muscles that cause extension, so global extension of the spine versus local extension of the spine where each vertebrae is extending. This is where a technique that I have developed called the 4-point thoracic spine ERE or end range expansion sequence comes into play. Okay, so let me demonstrate this to you right now. With the 4-point T-spine extension ERE, we're going to start with a little bit of warming up. So the standard old cat-camel, okay, where we're going from flexion into extension. I like to do a few cycles of that, anywhere from 3 to 5 cycles. And this helps to warm up, activate the muscles, and warm up the spine, get it moving. Okay, I'm not trying to really push the end range, but trying to push it a little bit. All right, so there. Now, let's talk about the setup first, because the setup position is a position that you want to maintain throughout the technique. The important points are elbows stay locked out. You're not bending the elbows at all. So you lock out the elbows, and your scapula are protracted. So you're pushing away from the floor. This is retraction of the scapula. See how much closer my body is to the floor? This is protraction. So you maintain protraction. This is to get those rhomboids out of this movement. Next, start off in neutral alignment of the spine. So find neutral, not too much extension, not too much flexion, good neutral position. And from here, we're going to start. So the first thing we're going to do is go into extension of the spine. So anterior tilt of the pelvis, extension of the spine, but keep the chin pulled in. Don't have to look up. Look straight down to the floor, but pull the chin up into your neck. So we've got the extension locked out. Make sure your elbows are straight, scapula are protracted. And from here, you're going to maintain and really focus on the muscles, the multifidus muscles in between your shoulder blades and the thoracic spine. So during this extension, just fire up that whole area, get as much extension of the thoracic spine as you can. Other muscles will be on, that's fine. Now from here, what we're going to do is go into posterior tilt and lumbar flexion only. Stop flexing the spine at the thoracic area. So start posterior tilt, lumbar flexion, and right about there, it's very subtle, I'm going to hold it, but I'm still extending the lumbar or the thoracic spine. So I'm flexing the lumbar and extending the thoracic. Both of those I'm trying to activate as hard as I can. Keep the elbow straight, keep protraction, push away from the floor, and hold it and breathe. You're trying to fire those muscles up as hard as you can. So flexion of the lumbar, extension of the thoracic, maintaining your setup position. Okay, so hold that. Keep those activation patterns on while we flex the cervical. So keep extending the thoracic, flex the lumbar, flex the cervical. Now we've isolated the thoracic spine into extension. Everything above and below is in flexion. So we're specifically targeting the multifidus. Hold it, breathe, keep activating. And then relax into neutral. And that's one cycle. So that's how we get to isolate those extensors of the thoracic spine, which include multifidus, semispinalis, and even some of the deeper muscles and smaller muscles like rotatories and intertransversi. Okay, it's impossible to know what muscles exactly are on, but when we flex the lumbar and flex the cervical while maintaining extension of the thoracic, those muscles have to be on, and the flexion, first of the lumbar and then of the cervical, cause reflexive contractions to increase the intensity of contraction of the extensors of the thoracic spine, which strengthens them. Okay, so we're strengthening them. We'll do, that was just one cycle, but you want to do at least two. Start with 2, 3, 4, build up to 5 cycles. Now with these types of exercises, especially when we're working areas, if you've got really bad hunchback and you've had it for a long time, these muscles might be very atrophied, and it's going to be difficult, and it'll take you a while to develop that mind-muscle connection. But they're there, and they can be woken up. Yeah, I'm always reminded of that movie Kill Bill, where Uma Thurman's character is in the coffin for a while, and when she gets out, she can't move. And she's just looking at her toe, and then eventually that toe twitches. That's what it might take for those of you who've had this poor hunchback posture for a long time. But keep working at it, okay? Don't get discouraged, keep working at it, because just this one technique, once you do it, once you activate it, you'll feel it. You'll be like, oh, that's, there's tension and there's fatigue in areas that I've never felt before. That's those muscles firing up. And once you've got them fired up, then it's just a matter of putting in the work, putting in the reps, and building their endurance so that standing up straight isn't using these superficial muscles and making you look like this, but it's a natural, easy position to maintain, and it's one that you can maintain throughout your day-to-day activities and throughout exercise. There you have it. That's the one hidden muscle that you wake up and work to fix hunchback posture for good. As long as you keep working this muscle and being aware of your posture, hunchback posture will no longer afflict you. Now, if you enjoyed this, you think you need some work in your spine and your spine control, if you've got low back pain or poor posture, there's other compensations that might be affecting you. And I suggest you check out my spine control course, which has been used by over 1,000 people by now. And it's something that you can use to ensure that your spine, all the muscles are working the way they're supposed to, and you've got the proper mobility in the spine throughout from lumbar to cervical. Because the spine is not designed just to stand ramrod straight, but if you golf, you're rotating, if you play tennis, If you're doing any sports, there's some degree of rotation, flexion, and extension in those sports, and you need to train it if you want it to be there for you for life. So check out Spine Control. There'll be a link in the description of the video or at the end of this video. Otherwise, if you enjoyed this video, thanks for watching it. Hope it helps you, and I will talk to you next time. Peace.